Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. And it's time for a reading update. Okay, so, I'm off tomorrow, so I'm gonna get some reading done tomorrow, definitely. And then my next out day, I think, will be Friday. Because, usually I'm always working on Thursdays, because it's the worst day. I keep wondering, is it gonna slow? Are things gonna slow down with because now our state is on lockdown. I'm very nervous that it's gonna be locked down for several. We're gonna be on lockdown for several months, which also means that my convention will probably be. Well, there's a good chance it will be canceled, and it's the one time a year where we're to get together. And even if because she said she's more than willing to come and still hang out with me, because of course, she's gonna we want to spend time together. But if we're on lockdown, then now that I think about it, well, first of all, there's not a lot to do around here, and I don't want to just sit around and watch TV. I want to read, and we both like reading, but we're not the type of friends who will read together. And I'm always worried it's gonna be boring for her. I mean, although when you're with your friends, it should never be boring. But even if like our convention is canceled, we're gonna be on lockdown. So will she be able to come, and or will she want to come? And I can't really, I mean, I'm sure she'll want to still come, but will she be able to is more. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm trying to play it by ear, but it's still I'm trying to not think about it and not dwell on it, because it's just gonna get me upset. And and of course my dad will tease me about that. He which is a little annoying. But I just want to be positive, and I don't want to panic yet. I don't want to be one of those crazy people who hoards toilet paper. So I'm trying my best, not to think about it and hope for the best, and hopefully I'll get a pleasant surprise that this didn't last that long. We're just, as my mom said, we're just playing by ear, and I just really hope that Terry doesn't bring it up again about, our convention will be canceled. Are you looking for a costume? Have you bought your one costume, your 1920s costume? Because that's our new cosplay. That's the one I am gonna do. Because like I said, I think it was a really clever idea. The whole idea of it's 2020, so dressing up like the 1920s. So I'm just hoping for, like I said, I'm hoping for the best. For now, I'm just focusing on my reading and doing some other stuff, and trying not to do so much sitting at my computer all day, because since we're all kind of staying home, there's a risk of us eating too much. Because what else are we gonna do? We can't. Although they let us, you can exercise. We can leave our house to go exercise, but that's about it. And then there's people, of course, the people who have jobs like work at the hospital or my job. They can go places. They can't go places, but places, and they can go to their work. And sometimes in those kind of jobs, a lot of times you're standing around the whole time. You're walking around. So in a way, you do get a little bit of exercise with jobs like that. And I'm getting focusing, like I said, focusing on my reading and just trying to stay positive and hopeful. Watching a lot of TV and movies and stuff. I'm almost done watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer for like the 10th time. I'm on season 7, and then I need to watch some of the shows that I did start watching, like Star Trek Next Generation. I need to finish that one. And there are shows that people keep telling me, oh, you should watch this show. I think you'll like this show. And as I said in the past, it gets really irritating when people do that, because then I feel even though they're not forcing you to watch it, even if they're not telling me you have to watch this, there's still and the same thing with books. There's still a little bit of pressure. And even if people say, I'm not forcing you to watch it, this is not me forcing you, I'm just telling you about it, it's still, the fact that you bring it up and you're assuring me that you're not trying to tell me, I just feel like people don't bring it up. I know I'm weird like that, but So yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the reading. So I am almost done with the Sundog. So I was able to squeeze one last book into March. And March has been a good reading year. I finished reading Cabin at the End of the World. I finished The Eye of the World. I started listening to audiobooks. Unfortunately, Come Tumbling Down, I don't think it's on. It's available on Libby at the moment. I don't think it's on Libby right now. I looked, unless I typed in the wrong title, I didn't find it. And, but I've listened to that's the only one I haven't listened to. I listened to Sadie via audiobook. And so that would mean I've listened to, Sadie, Every Hearted Doorway, and this is just this month, because back in February, I listened to Lord of the Rings trilogy. Down Among the Sticks and Bones, and then In an Absent Dream. So I've listened to 4 audiobooks this month. And the good news, and I don't drive, and as you guys know, I don't drive, so listening to them while I'm getting ready for bed, or like taking a shower or something, is really convenient, because I don't want to listen to them while I'm, first of all, I don't know how to connect my phone, I think I have Bluetooth on my phone, so I think I could do it, but, I won't be paying attention anyway when I'm running. Like, at least when you're taking a shower, you're standing, you're just concentrating on washing your body and stuff. So I feel like it counts, I mean, I know that I feel like there are some people who say you're not technically taking in the story if you're doing other stuff at the same time while you're listening to an audiobook. But like I said, all I'm doing is washing up while listening to an audiobook. And sometimes I listen to the audiobook when I'm like getting dressed for the day, making my bed and stuff like that. But so, other than those, I've also read, like I said, I finished The Eye of the World, and I need to start the second book soon, because I don't want this to be another series where I take forever to get to the second book. I'm trying not to I'm trying to remember these. I'm trying to remember these without looking at calling up the. Did I read? Oh, I think Elantris was a February book. And right before in my first modern classic, I read this one, which is Tender is the Night, which I think, unless you are really, I feel like the people that would appreciate Tender is the Night are people that are fans of Fitzgerald's work, because it's kind of a depressing story, and it's not one I'm gonna read again. I mean, I put it in my donation pile, actually. But it was good. The writing was good. It was an engaging story, and I like how in the middle I got a pleasant surprise. I was thinking it was gonna go one way, but then, like, I was thinking it was gonna be like, not Rules of Civility, because that was the first book I was comparing it to, but there was, The Paying Guest. I thought it was going to go in that direction, but it actually, it kind of didn't. Like, it was a lot more than just someone having an affair with someone's spouse, and we get the point of view of the person that's the other woman or the other man. And it also looked at, like, mental health in the 1920s, how that was looked at, and it also kind of looked at the whole idea, the whole reason why people say, I never operate on my own family members. And and it just looked at the rich, high society type people, and how they look at the world, and how they value their things that they consider important are their image. That, that image is more important than, than having actual friends that you generally care about. Oh, and I know I remember reading when I think when looking up information on the book and stuff that it was kind of inspired by Fitzgerald's own personal life. He was with a very, high society, maybe like artist type people who had their noses in the air kind of and I just find it so fascinating reading about those type of people who just they're the artist type people who are just really eccentric and can be very selfish and are just so self-absorbed, and they don't even consider the people that are devoted to them, that look up to them, that will stay loyal to them even if they treat them horribly. I find those stories really interesting. Like, I love reading about those like famous writers or actors or magicians like Houdini, and just seeing and getting the story of their spouses, the people that love them, and how they look at them, and how part of them worships them like everybody else, but another part is resentful and frustrated with them. And there's actually a book about Zelda Fitzgerald, but a fictionalized version of her story. And I think it's probably going to be very similar, that kind of vibe. I could be wrong. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what else before I talk about this one. What else? I don't want to go. I mean, there's a lot. Oh, The Night Circus. I finally read The Night Circus for my second time. I had been meaning to do that, and it was a book I read long before BookTube, and ever since on BookTube, I realized that there are a lot of people like Sam from Thoughts of Tomes, for instance, who absolutely love The Night Circus. And as you guys know, Erin Morgenstern, the author, came out with The Starless Sea not too long ago, and I did buy it, or my dad bought it actually. That was around the time the whole where I got the It Chapter 1 DVD, and it had Chapter 2 on there, but I didn't realize it was a digital copy, so I didn't know if I could get access to it. I mean, I probably could have if I figured it out, but it was just better to get the actual DVD or Blu-ray version of it in a separate thing. But at least I learned my lesson. I mean, or at least that's what my parents hope I did. That I learned my lesson not to jump on things just because you want it. But I mean, it was to be fair, it was one of those things where it was the first one I saw, and I was just excited to get it. But I probably should have just stuck with the book instead of that. Which actually, that's another silver lining of the situation, is at least I'm not being tempted to go to the bookstore, because both the bookstore and the library closed. But yeah, that was really good. There was so much I forgot about the story that I absolutely loved. Not just the writing style and the romance, because, as I've said before, I like romance in the plot, I just don't like it to be... I mean, this one kind of it was kind of central in the story, but it also had like a more whimsical, magical, fairy tale-esque feel. It wasn't just that there wasn't like any focus on their sexual relationship. There was focus on, and it wasn't just about them being together and their I mean, it kind of wasn't. It wasn't like, it was satisfying enough. And it was besides the fact that I had gone and I read that book a long time ago, and I don't, if I already loved a book from before, I'm gonna still love it, even if it has aspects of it that I've moved on from. But there was so many interesting characters that I just loved, and the circus is just, it's so enchanting, and you just get lost in the circus. What else did I read? Looking at all the books I've turned around. It was a really good reading month. And, and I guess the Library Police. Let me just go ahead I read The Library Policeman, Stephen King's, the third novella in this collection. It was really good. I think people that are librarians, you might not like it so much. Or you might be amused by it. I don't know, but and people that love going to the library might be totally creeped out with me, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. But then, I read, but it was good, and it's a good length because Stephen King, like, his books. I mean, look at how big this one is, how long it is. It takes me forever to read books like this. And short stories, I feel like they're always lacking. They're always missing something. And they just get too soon to the point of the scary stuff. I mean, they're fun, but they weren't, like, the one that I read was not, like, yeah, I like some of them, but it wasn't my favorite of his work. But that's, but at the same time, I will only, when I read his work, I never hate his work. I always love his work that I read. I mean, there are going to be some that I'm not going to ever read, like the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. I'm never going to read that because I don't want to read about a serial killer. I have no interest in that plot. And I hate cop procedural stories. I mean, there was a time when I read James Patterson's The Women's Murder Club, which was basically that, a woman's and I did attempt to read, what is her? I can't remember the author's name, but the series is called The Dublin Murder Squad. I did attempt to read it, but then I just got kind of bored. And it probably didn't help that it was a library book. And there's always this pressure to return library books, knowing that I have to, at least that I have to return them. Now with audiobooks, it's a little different because it reads a little, quote unquote, reads a little faster than, when I'm physically reading the book. And I thought I would go ahead and squeeze in the last one in this story. I still have not reread The Longlers, and I have not read Secret Window, Secret Garden. I don't know if I'm ever going to read Secret Window, Secret Garden, but I will eventually reread The Longlers. And like I said, with Secret Window, Secret Garden, it's just because I have the Johnny Depp movie, so I'm like thinking, I know the story, I know what's going to happen. But, speaking of Stephen King, they did not have like I said, they did not have come tumbling down, but I was going through what was available, and I saw on Stephen King's On Writing, and I've been meaning to buy that book, but I decided, I'm just gonna listen to it. And maybe one day I will buy it. But, and it was kind of cool to hear about the authors. Like, there were a couple authors that I was familiar with that were in his band, that band that he was in, the rock band. That, like, Amy Tan, who writes all those stories that are set in China. A lot of times they're about Chinese families, especially mothers and daughters. And then Ridley Pearson, who was he writes YA in middle grade, and he was the same guy who Stephen King asked him to write The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, which to go along with the mini-series that he did the screenplay for. Because that one was never a book, the whole Rose Red was never a book, but like I said, I believe it was Ridley Pearson he asked to write The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer. So I'm currently reading, the one I'd squeezed, the last one is The Sundog. And in this one, this boy named Kevin gets a Polaroid camera, so this is, I believe in the 80s, set in the 80s, either 80s or 90s. And on his 15th birthday, he gets a Polaroid camera from his great aunt Hilda, who he only sees like maybe every other year. And he decides, and when he takes a picture of his family, the picture does not show his family, but it shows this creepy dog in a backyard. And he keeps trying to take pictures, but every time this image shows up. So he takes it to this guy named Pop Merle, who is kind of a pawnbroker. And the guy, he shows him to the camera, explains the situation. So the guy is like, Okay, I need you to take this many pictures and then come back after you've taken all those pictures and show them to me. And he does that, and you see in the picture that the image subtly and slowly changes. It becomes altered, and you start to realize it's like a flip book. You know how sometimes when people back in the day, you would doodle on notebook paper, like doodle a picture that, and when you flip it, it's like a cartoon. And so Pop Pop ends up tricking Kevin. Well, first he tells Kevin, you need to destroy this camera. This is the only option because there's something wrong here. But it turns out he tricks Kevin, gives him a different camera, and keeps the Polaroid camera that the kid got for him for his birthday, and tries to sell it to people he calls Mad Hatters, people that are supernaturalists, people who believe in the supernatural and believe in psychic phenomena and stuff like that. Those like occult type people. But for some reason he cannot sell it to them. He struggles with selling it to any of them because they either don't believe him or are too freaked out by it. And slowly Pop is being taken controlled by this picture. And meanwhile, Kevin is having these weird dreams of being in what he calls a Polaroid world. Like it's a two-dimensional world that he ends up finding himself in his dreams. And I'm almost done with it. I'm on chapter 22, and there's 24 chapters. So I will be able to finish it up tonight. There's like 3 more, and then there's an epilogue. And then there actually is... And it's called the Sun Dog because, first of all, there's the dog in the picture, and then it's a Sun 660 Polaroid camera. And I don't remember that brand. I don't know if my parents remember that brand or not. I'll have to ask them. But, because they were teens in the 80s. But now that I'm reading more Stephen King, I'm starting to catch all the references and all the character references. Like, there's characters that were Sheriff Pangborn, both from The Dark Half, and he's also, I believe, in Needful Things, if I remember correctly, which I've not finished that one. And then there's Polly Chalmers, who I think is Sheriff Pangborn's girlfriend, and she ends up having, and I think this is in the Sun Dog is set in Castle Rock. Now I don't know where. Now I think the other one, the library policeman, I think that one is set in, not even in Maine. I think that one is actually set in Iowa. Which every so often his stories, not just his fantasy, but even his stories that are set in the real world, but with, even some of those can be set in other states other than Maine. But, it's really, now this of course is not the first camera-oriented story that I'm familiar with, and I was telling Terry, I don't know if maybe Twilight Zone ever did one, a camera type story, but there's both Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark did camera related stories, but there's actually in a way Are You Afraid of the Dark did 2 camera related ghost horror stories. One was the captured souls, and then the other one was what's it called? I can't remember what it was, but there's this kid keeps taking. It's kind of a similar story where he keeps taking pictures and weird images show up in the picture, I believe, or the camera picture predicts. Or it's actually it was, every time he would take a picture, instead of taking the current picture, takes a picture of something happening to the item he takes a picture of, like it breaks or something. Or if it's a person, they get a stain on their shirt, or something happens to them, or something like in the episode, the kid that bullies him gets something falls on him. And then there's a Goosebumps one about a futuristic camera. But I never saw that one. Not that I, like, and then, so it's kind of, and then Terry was reminding me how there was a lot of people believe that there was a time when people believed that taking your picture captured your soul. Oh, wait, in the new group on Running for the Dark, one of the stories was kind of involved a picture too, a photograph as well, where these kids were trapped in time or something via this photograph. And I was just thinking about another one. But anyway, I personally think that concept is really cool and interesting. Oh, I was also thinking about, there was a movie I remember. I never remember what the movie is called, but where this man, he is a photographer, and his great grandfather or something used to be a photographer himself, and he was obsessed with taking the photographs of people that, he was obsessed with stillness. He didn't like how in photographs back in the day, like the 1800s or early 1900s, that because it was so hard to get a person, you had to stay completely still to take a photo. You couldn't. And he was obsessed with making sure people stayed still. So he found a way. I don't know if they were dead or something, or he found a way to make them almost dead. I'm not sure. I want to watch that movie again, but it's been so long, and it only comes, and I feel like it only comes on around Halloween. It's one of those sci-fi channel movies that comes only on Halloween, like in October. But I'm gonna after I am done filming, I'm gonna finish this book and then finish this one. And I think even though I haven't reread The Long Letters and I haven't read Secret Garden, Secret Window, I'm gonna go ahead and turn up the spine anyway on my shelf because like I said, I read The Long Letters at least once, and I know what Secret Window, Secret Garden is about. I've seen the movie, so I know the basic plot. And I read the other ones. I just finished them. Okay, so let's. So really, that's all I've been just trying to get that one done. I've been listening to those audiobooks. I did want to read at least a little bit more of this one. The Distant Hours by Kate Morton. And for the Magical Readathon, I'm the Owls thing. The part 1, the Owls. I might read Secret, the Forgotten Garden, not Secret, the Forgotten Garden, because it applies to one of the prompts. So I wanted to read this first, at least a little bit more. And this one is this woman, Edie, discovers that her mom, back during World War II when she was a little girl, she had stayed with these spinster sisters, Juniper Blythe, Juniper, Seraphina, and let me see. And Persephone Blythe. She had stayed with them, and Edie decides to go to the house, and she meets the sisters, explore the houses, trying to understand what happened to her mother all those years ago, and how it might have shaped who she is now, and why she reacted the way she did when she received the letter from Juniper. So I'm going to read that one, and as what I am, and other than that, where is it? Oh, I think I put it up on the shelf already. I'm also been reading, Something Wonderful, which is about Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein II. It's about all their work and, how they became a partnership and the history of them as individuals. So if you're a musical theater nerd, I think you would probably appreciate that piece of nonfiction. and it's like the first part was all about there was a chapter on Oklahoma and how that was made, and they talked about the changes they had to make and the struggles and how hard it was to put it all together, and how they had changed some things from the play that was written before, where the Green Where the Lilacs Grow. I think that's what it was originally called, when it was just a play, not a musical. And it was, if you're not familiar with Oklahoma, it's basically a cowboy musical, and you have like most people would probably be familiar with "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning," which no, I'm done with that. I can't sing. And the next chapter I just read was Carousel, which is, I feel like, musical tragedy. It does not end well for the characters. It's about a doomed love that is just not is very like dysfunctional, toxic, and they're not gonna make it work, kind of thing. And I did have the soundtrack for that one, but I ended up it was one of the soundtracks that I got rid of because I wasn't interested in the music. Although now I'm starting to regret that. I wish I had kept that one. And I don't. It's really interesting to read about and how these plays were formed. I mean, I'm sure, like I said, it's probably more interesting to those of us who are musical nerds, and those of us who are not musical nerds probably would not care about it. Like, I definitely think Larissa would be more interested than Terry would be. And, if she watches this video, she can claim that she would be, but, she's not. And yeah, she did theater, but, I don't see, I just can't see it. I don't see her being the type that would be interested in this piece of nonfiction. I think Larissa, like I said, I think Larissa is more of a musical nerd than she is, and would be more interested in this and learning about these guys. But her focus is on her other things. Like, she's been reading about, like, I think she implied that she's currently a teaching assistant. So she's reading all these nonfiction books about how to teach kids and keep them engaged. And she finally actually finished Winter, which I don't know if she told me or not that she had started reading that one. I was hoping we would read it together, but to be fair, I never asked her either, so I can't really get mad at her about that. And then I can't remember. I should have looked. I totally forgot to look and see what she was currently reading, because she did send me a picture of what she was currently reading. And if I did look at it, I don't remember what it was. I can't think of, I might have actually looked at it, but like I said, I don't remember what it was. So starting tomorrow, I will be starting my, my Owls DVR, and I have started, when I'm in bed, I have started reading, God's Grave by Jay Kristoff. I decided to go ahead and get a head start on that, so I've read a little bit of that. I'm only on chapter 2. I started reading chapter 3. And, but what I might do is instead, I might go ahead and start read my graphic novel in bed instead, and then just wait until tomorrow to read God's Grave so I can read a lot more of it. The good news is it's not just a week, it's not just 2 weeks, it's a whole month, so I still stand a chance to actually completing these and passing my OWLs. Hopefully. But I'm not one of those people, like, I'm only off a couple days this week, and, I'm not one of those people who can just read 24 hours, and I don't, like, you have these people who do those 24-hour readathons, and it's like, I love reading, but I can't do that. I want my sleep. I love my sleep. And of course, I can't get away with, and because I still live with my parents, so they're gonna be a little, I don't think they're gonna really like the idea of me reading at the dinner table. If they were out of town, it was just me, or they went out to eat or something, then yeah, maybe I could get away with it then. But this is family time, when you eat your dinner with your family, you're talking. You talk and you eat with your family, you don't sit there and stare at your phone or read a book. Although there are times when I see, them on their phones, I'm like, okay, so you're on your phone, so I can read my book then. But no, I mean, sometimes it's because, they're talking to their siblings or their parents or my own sister, to be fair. But, so I'm probably gonna read, oh, that fell out. I'm probably gonna read this in bed, and it shouldn't be too hard to read in bed because there's not as many words on the page. And like I said, I have faith that I can get away with reading this and having not read the first volume. This is volume 4. Because I feel like with graphic novels, it's like so much goes on anyway that eventually I feel like you'll figure it out. And that's the best you can do because there's so many, it's hard to, figure out where to start with. But from what I gathered, this is basically the Joker versus the Riddler, and Batman's caught in the middle. And I like the artwork in this case. Some of the artwork that Terry has shown me, I don't like in the Batman graphic novels because they always change artists in each issue. Like, I don't like the one where they show the Riddler as really muscular. Because from what I know about the character, he's not. I don't see him as being, a muscular man. I see him as being strong and having muscle, but not that obvious kind of muscle with, you can see their six-pack kind of muscle. You can see veins coming through. But, this, I really like this picture. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and read this because I don't want to make the same mistake I made with the Sirens graphic novel, where I started, but then I took a really long break in between reading it. It took me forever to finish it. Although, I mean, it's really not that hard. It's not that much to read. I mean, just looking at pictures. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of pages. But it's just looking at pictures and reading dialogue and brief descriptions of the situation. And the dialogue is really cheesy, but I mean, that's just what you're gonna get with a graphic novel, especially with the superhero type graphic novels. But I do like the artwork in this. So it really shouldn't. It shouldn't take me that long because it's not as much to read. It's just sometimes you get sidetracked. And it's not the kind of stuff I'm used to. So I'm probably gonna start this one first because it shouldn't take me as long to read as some of the other ones. I also like this cover with the Riddler, the Joker his face as a puzzle. As puzzle pieces. I think that's a really cool concept. So DC, this is the DC Universe Rebirth edition. And I would like to read more graphic novels. It's hard for me to get into them, but that doesn't mean I'm not interested. Just means it's not something I'm used to. And then eventually I do want to finish her, the ElfQuest graphic novel that she, omnibus she gave me actually. It's an omnibus, So, I guess that's really it. That's all I want to talk about right now. I want to finish, like I said, the Sundog. I'm almost, there's 3 more chapters to go and then an epilogue. And then I will have squeezed another book from and then I will probably read a little bit more of The Distant Hours before tomorrow. And I will, so I guess I will talk to you guys later. Like I said, as I always say, feel free to share in the comments below what you are currently reading. If you're participating in Book Roast's Magical Readathon, and what you are reading for that readathon, because this is my first time doing that readathon. I would love to know what everyone's reading and what career path they have chosen. I am actually going to be a magi zoologist. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, because as I explained in my other video where I showed my DVR for that, it's something different. And if you're going to do something like this, do something fun. Don't just do something that, like something that, of course you're going to do that. No surprise there. Like, do something that's fun and different and something that, in the real world you couldn't do in real life. Like, I don't know if I could ever work with magical animals, magical creatures. Some of them are actually kind of scary. And I don't know how you would tame them. But, so if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified when I post new videos. And I will talk to you all later, and I hope you enjoyed your reading. Bye!